Raymond Williams's modern tragedy offers a nuanced re-evaluation of the concept of tragedy by moving beyond classical definitions and situating it within the modern social, political, and cultural context. Williams argues that traditional views, largely derived from Greek drama and reinterpreted through Renaissance and later critical traditions, are insufficient to address the complexities of contemporary experience. The book questions rigid distinctions between tragedy and other literary forms and contends that the tragic is not limited to a specific structure or outcome, but reflects deep tensions in human life, especially in a world marked by profound social transformations and political conflicts. Williams begins by challenging the idealization of Greek tragedy. He critiques the tendency of earlier critics, such as Aristotle and those who followed him, to treat tragedy as a closed form, governed by strict principles like the unity of action and catharsis. He acknowledges the power of these plays, but emphasizes that tragedy must be understood as a response to the conditions of its time. Greek tragedies, rooted in a worldview that accepted the inevitability of fate and divine intervention, reflect a social order fundamentally different from the modern one. As society evolved, especially in the wake of the Enlightenment and modernity, the tragic shifted from metaphysical concerns to reflect secular anxieties about human freedom, alienation, and social injustice. One of Williams's central ideas is that modern tragedy cannot be adequately understood without reference to historical change. The Industrial Revolution, the rise of capitalism, and the accompanying transformations in human relationships have introduced new conflicts that require different forms of expression. In the modern world, individuals no longer struggle against fate or divine forces, but against social systems and ideological constraints. This shift has led to the emergence of what Williams calls a tragic vision that reflects the sense of fragmentation, alienation, and moral ambiguity in modern life. Rather than focusing solely on the downfall of a heroic individual, as in classical tragedy, modern tragedy often explores the collective suffering of ordinary people trapped within oppressive structures. Williams also discusses the influence of political ideologies on the development of modern tragedy. He emphasizes that modern drama reflects the contradictions inherent in capitalist societies, where human relationships are often reduced to economic transactions. The tragic in this context lies not in the inevitable downfall of individuals, but in the dehumanizing effects of systems that alienate people from their labor, their communities, and even themselves. For Williams, the works of playwrights like Henrik Ibsen, Bertolt Brecht, and Arthur Miller exemplify this new tragic form. These writers, in different ways, engage with the social and political issues of their time, revealing the tensions between personal desires and collective responsibilities. A significant part of modern tragedy is Williams's critique of the notion of tragedy as an isolated, aesthetic experience. He argues that the traditional view of tragedy as a genre that produces catharsis through pity and fear is limited and inadequate for addressing the complexities of modern life. In contrast to this view, Williams proposes that modern tragedy should be seen as a way of understanding and confronting the contradictions of the modern world. It is not just a literary form, but a mode of thought that helps us grapple with the fundamental dilemmas of existence. By focusing on ordinary people and everyday conflicts, modern tragedy offers a more democratic and inclusive vision, rejecting the elitism implicit in classical notions of heroic suffering. Williams also draws attention to the relationship between tragedy and hope. While many traditional theories of tragedy emphasize the inevitability of suffering and the impossibility of escape, Williams suggests that modern tragedy contains a potential for renewal and transformation. This does not mean that modern tragedies offer simple solutions or happy endings. Rather, they acknowledge the possibility of change, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Williams identifies this element of hope in the works of playwrights who engage critically with their social contexts, challenging the status quo and imagining alternative possibilities. In this sense, modern tragedy is not just a reflection of despair, but a call to action, urging audiences to confront the realities of their world and to work towards change. The book also explores the differences between tragedy and other forms of literature, particularly comedy and melodrama. Williams argues that these genres, while distinct, often overlap in significant ways. Comedy, for example, can contain elements of the tragic by exposing the absurdity and contradictions of human existence. Similarly, melodrama, though often dismissed as a lesser form, can express a sense of moral outrage and emotional intensity that resonates with the themes of tragedy. Williams's analysis challenges the rigid boundaries between genres, suggesting that the tragic vision can be found across a wide range of literary and dramatic forms. One of the key insights of modern tragedy is its emphasis on the interplay between individual and collective experiences. Williams argues that modern tragedy often portrays the tension between personal desires and social obligations, highlighting the ways in which individuals are shaped by their social environments. This tension is particularly evident in the works of playwrights like Ibsen, whose characters struggle to reconcile their personal aspirations with the expectations of society. The tragic in this context lies not in the failure of individuals to achieve their goals, but in the recognition that their desires are constrained by social forces beyond their control. Williams's discussion of tragedy also extends beyond the realm of literature to include historical events and social movements. He argues that certain historical moments, such as revolutions and political uprisings, can be understood as tragic in the sense that they involve profound conflicts between opposing forces. These events often reflect the same tensions that underpin modern tragedies: the struggle between freedom and oppression, hope and despair, progress and regression. By framing history in this way, Williams invites readers to see tragedy not as a static genre but as a dynamic process that unfolds in both art and life.